السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد. As we mentioned yesterday, inshallah, on a daily basis after Salah Fajr, we will be mentioning very briefly some tips as to how we can improve the quality of our Salah and build this quality of khushu' in our Salah. And so yesterday we spoke about how having the greatness and the importance of Salah in our minds and reminding ourselves of this before our Salah can help us take our Salah more seriously and not approach it in a ritualistic manner in which we are just fulfilling an obligation, we're just checking off a box, rather realizing the greatness and the importance of this task, the reason for which we were created. And so we talked about some ayat and some ahadith on the importance of Salah. Another point to note is that the obligation of Salah is not dropped upon anyone except in very, very, very dire situations. A person, for example, loses their intellect completely, right? Or a person is completely paralyzed, they cannot even do anything. Those are some rare circumstances in which Salah, maybe the obligation of Salah may be dropped off upon a person. Otherwise, there's literally almost no exceptions in which Salah will be dropped upon someone. And so, when a person is traveling is a situation in which many times it's difficult to pray. Yet, Allah did not say you are forgiven from praying Salah while you're traveling. Rather, Allah Ta'ala gave us the rukhsa, Allah Ta'ala gave us the ease and the concession of praying qasr, right? That we shorten our Salah, right? However, and there are other concessions as well given to a musafir for praying Salah. However, it is not dropped off. That is a very key important point, which shows how important it is to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Similarly, the sick. For a fasting person, for example, there's a general excuse that a person's sick, they won't fast. But for Salah, that is not the case. Even if you are sick, you have to fast. Yes, of course, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah Ta'ala only burdened the soul with that which they can bear. And so according to their capacity, right? So for example, if a person cannot stand, they can sit and pray. If a person cannot sit, they even, the ahadith mentioned, they lie down and pray and they face the qibla, right? And if they can't face the qibla like this, they will face it the other way, right? To that extent. And if a person can't make wudu, for example, they will make tayammum, and there's other exceptions. However, the key point to note is that the obligation of Salah is not dropped. Even in that dire situation, a person is so sick. To the point I mentioned about paralysis, right? That's the opinion of some scholars, there's different opinion among scholars. Some scholars even say, they go to the extent of saying that even if a person can't move any part of their body, they will indicate with their eyes. That's how they will pray. That's the extent of the fardiyah of Salah. Just keep that in mind and imagine how great and important Salah is. Even a pregnant woman, right? A lot of times we don't really think about these things, but the books of fiqh, they highlight these points because people normally don't think about them. That a woman, even when she's pregnant, even when she's at the point of about to give birth, even at that point, Salah is fard upon her, to the extent that they even highlight the exact amount that the baby should be out before Salah becomes dropped on her, right? Of course, if she's in a situation where it's very difficult for her to pray, then of course she would make up the Salah after her nifas period. The point is that the Salah is not dropped even on that situation. And even in the battlefield, that's like a situation where we think, okay, in that situation, your life is on the line. But Allah Ta'ala, in two different places in the Quran, He talks about Salatul Khawf. And the ulama describe that one of them is Salatul Khawf, and the other one is Salatul Khawf al-Shadid. Right? So in one version of the Salah, Allah Ta'ala describes in great detail, وَإِذَا قُمْتَ فِيهِمْ فَأَقَمْتَ لَهُمُ الصَّلَاةِ. Allah Ta'ala describes in great detail about instructing the Sahaba and of course the Muslims after them, that you're in the battlefield. We're not talking about like, you're waiting to get into battle. In the middle of battle, right? And so you would pray in such a way that you divide yourself in two groups. One group prays behind the Imam, the other is standing in guard. Then they pray half the Salah, then the other group comes, and then they take a shift basically, right? And one group is guarding and the others are praying. Then in another ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا, right? That when you are in fear, then you pray your Salah while you are walking or while you are riding. And the ulama explained this is in a situation where there's al-khawfu shadid, where you're in such fear that if you turn around for a moment, that you will be killed. And so in that situation, you don't even have to face the qibla. The obligation of facing the qibla is dropped. However, you still have to pray. So you will pray facing your enemy while you are walking and marching towards them. You will still be praying. So just think about this for a moment. How important is salah to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that He did not drop it even in such a severe situation. Whereas look at our situation today, unfortunately. We go to the mall, salah time is ending, oh, it's too difficult. Who's gonna go and make wudu in the bathroom and then pray in some corner? Oh, I'll just pray when I get home. Whereas look at what Allah Ta'ala is obligating us to do. Right? So when we keep this in mind, the value and the importance of salah, when we have this in our minds, we will approach salah in a completely different manner. This is why it's narrated from the Salaf that before starting their salah, their faces would become pale, their complexion and everything would change because they realize the gravity, the importance of what they are about to enter into. Right? And this is why about Ali radiallahu anhu, it was said about him that his face would change and people would say, why do you become like this before salah? And he said that I'm about to fulfill that commandment, that trust, that the entire the earth and the mountains were given, but فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلَّهَا, that they shrank back from accepting this trust, but us human beings have accepted that trust of the commands of Allah, and from amongst them are salah. So I'm about to fulfill that great trust that Allah Ta'ala has entrusted upon our shoulders. Whereas the opposite also described in the Quran, the munafiqeen. How did they approach salah? Did they approach it with this importance, giving it its value? No. Allah describes the hypocrites as saying, وَإِذَا قَامُوا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ قَامُوا كُسَالَى يُرَاءُونَ النَّاسِ. When they stand for salah, they stand in a lazy manner. يُرَاءُونَ النَّاسِ. And the only reason they're even standing is to show people that, oh, I don't want people to think that I don't pray, so let me just pray. Right? So we should think and ponder to ourselves, is our salah closer to the salah of the believers, of the pious people of the past who gave this importance and had this in their mind, how great and important salah is? Or is it more similar to the salah of the munafiqeen? May Allah Ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq and the true concentration and importance of salah. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu.